this is a dawah topic. You know how you do dawah? So if normal people, normal Christians, they don't know much about the Quran. So this is not this today's topic. What I wanted to talk about is not a topic for them. This is a topic for those who, the people who want to attack Islam by actually studying the Quran. Okay, so one of the arguments that they use is, for example, one famous argument is Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says, for example, the Jews and the Christians and the Sabians and those who believe in Allah on the last day, all of them are safe, essentially, right? I'm just paraphrasing. You familiar with that ayah? Okay, they'll use arguments like that. What does that mean to them? For them, it's an argument saying you don't have to be Muslim to enter Jannah. You can be a Jew or a Christian because that's what the Quran says. But they don't read around what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually is saying. This is a much longer topic. I'm just giving you a little bit of a taste, inshallah. So one of the arguments which is a little bit more difficult to debate, is this one. They say there's an ayah in Surah Al-Maidah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is ayah 47 in Surah Al-Maidah. You guys can check it out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلْيَحْكُمْ أَهْلَ الْإِنْجِيلِ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فِيهِ, that the people of Injil, the gospel, the people of the gospel, they should judge by what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed inside the gospel. Okay? وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ, and whoever doesn't judge based on what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ, then they are the ones who are disobedient. Okay? They're the ones who are they disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does that mean to you when you hear this ayah? The people of the gospel should judge by what's revealed in the gospel. What do you understand, and what kind of anti-Islamic things you can extract from this? Anyone? Just follow the gospel. You don't have to be Muslim. That's number one. What number two? Follow the right gospel. Yeah. There's a bigger problem. If you just take this ayah by itself, it's not a problem. Actually, if you dig deeper, it's really not a problem. But at the surface, it seems like a problem. What's the problem? What do Muslims claim? The Bible, the gospel is corrupted. So if the gospel is corrupted, and this ayah says follow the gospel, is Allah saying to the Christians follow the corrupt Bible? No. That's a bigger problem. You understand? All right, so now let's unpack. Are you guys ready? Okay, let me repeat the arguments. The arguments are, gospel can't be corrupted because the Quran is saying to follow the gospel, and it's telling Rasulullah to judge the people by the gospel. So that's the argument. The other argument is the Quran confirms the gospel. So why do we have to go with the Quran? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala completely rips this into shreds in the following pages. This argument from this ayah. So right before this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقَفَّيْنَا عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمْ بِعِيسَى بْنِ مَرْيَمَ, and then Isa alayhi salam essentially came down after the other prophets, مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ, that he confirmed what he also was a recipient of min al-Torah. So Isa alayhi salam received the Torah too. He knew the Torah inside and out, right? وَآتَيْنَاهُ الْإِنْجِيلَ, and in addition to the Torah, we gave him the Injil, Isa alayhi salam, right? هُدًى وَنُورٌ وَمُصَدِّقًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ. It was guidance, and it's a nur, and it also confirmed what was in front of him from the Torah. من التوراة وهدى وموعظة للمتقين, which in itself, the Torah itself, was a guidance and a advice and a counsel for the muttaqun. Okay. Then the ayah comes, وَلْيَحْكُمْ أَهْلُ الْإِنْجِيلِ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فِيهِ, and the people of the gospel, or the people of the Injil, should judge based on what is in it. This ayah is speaking about Ahlul Injil. Argument number one. By the way, tangent, but a foundational thing that you may not be familiar with. but this is important. In the New Testament, which they claim to be Injil, there are many books, right? Okay. Out of those books, the first 4 books are called the Gospels. Have you heard of this? The Gospel of Mark, the Gospel of Matthew, the Gospel of Luke, and the Gospel of John. The first 3, they're very similar to each other, almost word for word. They have some contradictions, but the first 3 books, Matthew, Mark, Luke, they're almost identical. If you read them, go ahead and look at them. It's fascinating. You learn a lot, inshallah. They're very dense. But when you read it, you'll get the idea they're saying exactly the same thing, but they have some contradictions. Problem 1, there are 4 Gospels, or the first 3 are very similar, so you can say, okay, fine. Let's leave the 4th one alone. First 3 is still more than one. Which Gospel are you talking about? Which is the Injil? The Matthew? Mark? Luke? Which one? John? Which one is the Gospel? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying one Gospel. One Gospel. وَآتَيْنَاهُ الْإِنْجِيلِ. We gave him the Injil. And what they have is at least 3, if not 4. Which one? Right? And because they have contradictions in them, it's evident Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not talking about those Gospels, because it's a clear indication of corruption, because when you have more than one, they have contradictions, it's a clear indication of corruption. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this ayah is connected to the previous ayah, that Isa alayhi salam is being told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's saying that Isa alayhi salam came down لِيَحْكُمْ وَلِيَحْكُمْ, so that he judges. So that he judges. Sah? So it's not for now. This is an ayah for before. At the time of Isa alayhi salam, so that Isa alayhi salam judges people using the Gospel. Because why? Why the Gospel and not the Torah? Because first, the Gospel builds on the Torah. Second, the Gospel, Injil, came to make the Sharia of the Torah easier, because the Sharia and Torah was pretty difficult because of the behavior of the Bani Israel before. The laws became harder and harder and harder and harder. So in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the Injil came down to make the laws easier, to give the Jews a last chance. So the Jews who believed in Isa alayhi salam, وَآمَنَتْ طَائِفَةٌ مِّن بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ وَكَفَرَتْ طَائِفَةٌ, and some disbelieved. So those who believed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, so that they judge. So understand? So this is not for now, this ayah is not for now, it's for before, at the time of Isa alayhi salam. 2, issue number 2, ayah after it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الْكِتَابِ. Allah's telling Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and we sent the book down to you, بالحق, in truth, with a purpose, مصدقا لما بين يديه من الكتاب. It also confirms what was revealed before, right? In roughly speaking, and then a very important word, وَمُهَيْمِنٌ عَلَيْهِ. And it supersedes what came before. It supersedes, and there's so many different ways to translate Muhayman. Okay, it's a gold standard. Now this is the standard. This is overwhelming. It is overpowering. It outshines. Right? So many ways you can say Muhayman. Yes, they forget to read what's around it. Yeah, they just look at one ayah. Right? So yeah, it's not a dilemma at all. You read this ayah, and what's after it, like pages and pages are dismantling that exact thinking, but they conveniently don't mention it. And they use this argument for people who don't know, because if you don't know the Quran, you're going to go, oh, that makes sense, right? That's confusing. Why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say this? It doesn't make sense, right? So, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَحْكُمْ بَيْنَهُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهِ. Then Allah's telling Rasulullah, oh Rasulullah, judge between them, meaning all of them, Christian, Jews, Muslims, everyone, from what Allah revealed to you. Bima anzalallah, right? وَلَا تَتَّبِعْ أَهْوَاهُمْ, and don't follow their desires. عَمَّا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْحَقِّ, when the truth has actually come to you. لِكُلِّ جَعَلْنَا مِنْكُمْ شِرْعَةً وَمِنْهَاجًا. All of them have been given a sharia, roughly speaking. Meaning, O Rasulullah, now this is a new sharia. For Isa alayhi salam, it was his sharia. For Musa alayhi salam and the prophets after him, it was their sharia. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if it were up to Allah, He would have made everyone one nation. وَلَكِنْ لِيَبْلُوكُمْ فِيمَا آتَاكُمْ. So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not make you one nation. Why? So that He can test you from what He has given to you. So the Jews were tested with what was given to them in the Torah. The last Jews were tested with last Jews. I'm saying that on purpose, not the Christians. You know, the Christian word came later, right? The last of the Jews were tested with what was given to Isa alayhi salam, and then we are tested with what is given to us from the Quran. فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ, and continue to do good things. إِلَى اللَّهِ مَرْجِعُكُمْ جَمِيعًا فَيُنَبِّئُكُم بِمَا كُنتُمْ فِيهِ تَخْتَلِفُونَ. Okay, you understand the context now? Right. Now, more arguments a few pages down, and I encourage you to read, ayah 46 and onward. It's beautiful. I'll just end with the last couple of things. You know the famous ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَقُولُوا ثَلَاثَ, and do not say three. Basically, the argument is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying they misunderstood what was in the Injil. They became corrupted. They changed the words. So it talks about the corruption. And you know how we say in Surah Al-Fatiha, غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. The maghdub alayhim are the one who Allah is angry with is the Bani Israel. The one who are misguided, wala dallin, are the Christians. This is a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Where is the connection? For example, I'll show you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ, O Prophet, tell to the people of the book, لَا تَغْلُوا فِي دِينِكُمْ, do not exaggerate in your deen. Meaning, don't say three. It doesn't say three. In the Bible, the Trinity is not mentioned at all. Did you guys know that? The Trinity is not mentioned at all. Later on, it was added, not the word Trinity, but something similar. But it is, all the scholars of Christianity know, that's a false addition. That was an addition that was added much, much later on. Okay? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling them, do not exaggerate in the deen, meaning don't make stuff up. Okay? وَلَا تَقُولُوا ثَلَاثَ. This is why the khatib on the minbar, what does he say? كُلُّ بِدْعَةٍ ضَلَالَةٍ. Every innovation is a misguidance. This is a misguidance. Okay? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in this ayah, this is ayah 77. Okay? قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ لَا تَغْلُوا فِي دِينِكُمْ غَيْرَ الْحَقِّ, which is not the truth. وَلَا تَتَّبِعْ أَهْوَاءَ قَوْمٍ, and do not follow the desires of a people قَدْ ضَلُّوا مِنْ قَبْلِ, who were upon misguidance before. وَأَضَلُّوا كَثِيرًا, and they have misguided many others. وَضَلُّوا عَنْ سَوَاءِ السَّبِيلِ, and they misguided them from the straight path. لُعِنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, and so on and so forth. Cursed be those people who have disbelieved, meaning they misguided, they disbelieved, they changed the words, etc., etc. So the arguments of the Christians who want to attack Islam and say, no, Bible is not corrupt, and your book, Quran itself, is saying, follow the Bible, is a complete misunderstanding, misreading, and a convenient misreading of Surah Al-Maidah. This required a little bit of background, so that's why I kind of went long. But hopefully it was helpful. I hope, inshallah. Okay. All right. I spoke about the ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah, for example. It's also in Surah Al-Maidah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who believe, وَالَّذِينَ هَادُوا, and those who are Jews, وَالنَّصَارَى, and the Christians, وَالصَّابِئِينَ, and the Sabians, مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ, who believe in Allah and the last day, وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا, and they did good deeds, فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. And then for them, the reward is for them is reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will not fear, they will not grieve. So if you just read this ayah, you're gonna go scratch your head, you're gonna go, and a lot of Muslims do that. Anyone who's reading the translation of the Quran for the first time, they come across this ayah 62 in Surah Al-Baqarah, they'll go, that doesn't make any sense. Allah is saying all the Christians and the Jews and the Sabians and everyone who believes in Allah in the last day will enter Jannah. How does that work? Why do I have to be Muslim? Why can I be? I can be Jew. I'll be fine. So Jews are going to go to Jannah. The Christians are going to go to Jannah. Okay, but then they forget to read what's after it, and there's so much more. And then this would become a really long discussion. So bottom line is, the way you understand this ayah, those who were the Jews, the right Jews, those who believed in Musa alayhi salam, those Christians who actually believed in Isa alayhi salam and followed him, those the Sabians and whichever prophet came up to him, that's a whole mystery who the Sabians are. I have an article on it. I can send it to you guys. And those who properly believe, and in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who properly believe him, they will enter Jannah. They are the one who's saved, not the ones who corrupted and misguided people and all of that. That's what it means. So the Jews today, the Christians today, are nothing like what the actual believers of Musa alayhi salam were. What the Ahlul Tawrat, they don't exist anymore. Ahlul Injil, they don't exist anymore. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from Ahlul Quran. آخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بارك الله فيكم.